Hello and welcome. I'm the Goodly Christian Witch. Now this video is a series called Proving Christian Satanism. This is not the first installment that we wrote a blog about, but it's the first one that we've been sort of thought was good or felt was good to start with, because it sort of shows the difference between the message of the New Testament and the message of the Old Testament, and the difference between Jesus and the difference between Jesus Christ and Jehovah. Okay? And there's a satanic Jesus and a satanic Jehovah. And that isn't really that they're a different person. It really isn't. What it is that when you look at the Gospels or you look at the Old Testament and you read it and you see what it actually says, and you don't apologize for it, and you don't justify it and make it up and say, oh, well, that doesn't really mean that. What they really mean is that when you don't do that, we just look at it for what it is. It's not that you're not justifying what they did, because who's to say who's wrong and who's right? In the final analysis, who's to say what's wrong and what's right? Nevertheless, a Satanist that's a Christian looks at what it really says, and then goes ahead and says, okay, that's what it says, then that's what I don't have to believe it. I know it's true because it says it right there. And you know what else? It makes sense. Because when you whitewash everything, it stops making sense. And then people stop believing it, and then people seem like they're hypocrites. So a Christian Satanist is just someone or a Christian witch maybe, is someone who's opened their eyes, has a lot of information, has read other books, been exposed to other books, and really looks at things and sees exactly what's there and where it fits. So we're going to go over Proving Christian Satanism, the left-hand path. This is not the first installment that we wrote as a blog, but it's the first one we're making a video about. And the left-hand path, Matthew 5:14-44 and Luke 14:26. Jesus Christ commands you to hate your family and love your enemies. Okay, so Jesus told you in Matthew 5:43-44 and Luke 14:26 to hate your family, okay, and love your enemies. All right? Now, honor your family is what Jehovah says. Exodus 20:12 and 1 Samuel 15:3. Destroy your enemy, honor your family, destroy your enemy. Now we're going to get to going on with this. Okay. Jehovah and Jesus, or satanic Jehovah and satanic Jesus, because they're really, if you want to just think of it, the real people. What they actually did, when you read it and you say that's what they did, you don't have to justify it. It is what it is. And if nobody feels guilty about it, then it just is what it is. I mean, lots of people did a lot of real intense things since the beginning of time and are continuing to do so to this day. And people say, well, when these people do it, it's okay, but when these people do it, it's not okay. It's not like that. People do what they do. People are the most vicious animals on this planet. Human beings are the most vicious, selfish animals on this planet, and if they're made in the image of their oversoul, their God, their egregore, then you have to understand who that God is, and of course you have to have healthy respect, because there's a lot of power there. Now, again, Jehovah and Jesus, pillars of Jachin and Boaz selling war. What went on here? How is war sold? What is the point of the Old and New Testament? All right. Why are they different? Where are they the same? Because Jesus told people to break the fifth commandment, telling people to not honor their parents. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Okay, now Jehovah and Jesus are negative and positive poles of a battery. The creatively opposing sides of Severity and Mercy playing good cop, bad cop. These are the two pillars of Jachin and Boaz. Jesus sells civil war to the liberals, and Jehovah sells world war to the conservatives. Jesus commands you to hate your family and love your enemies. Jehovah orders you to destroy your enemies and honor your family. Jehovah is thesis, while Jesus is antithesis. Synthesis occurs in that the only winner is the war machine. Jehovah commands you to destroy your enemies in 1 Samuel 15:3. Now go and smite Amalek and destroy utterly all that they have and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. That's the DBT, okay, for the translations. Now, Jehovah orders you to honor your family in Exodus 20:12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be prolonged in the land that Jehovah thy God giveth thee. Jesus Christ commands you to hate your family in Luke 14:26. If any man come to me and shall not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yea, and his own life too, he cannot be my disciple. Again, he tells you to hate, H-A-T-E, hate your own father and your own mother and your wife and your children and your brothers and sisters. You see all these movies, and your own life. You see these movies where they say Jesus is about brotherly love. They're lying. They are lying to you. He said to hate your brother. Okay? He taught hate, and he taught war, not peace. All right. Now, Jesus Christ orders you to love your enemies in Matthew 5:43-44. Ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, and do good to those who hate you, and pray for those that insult and persecute you. Okay, so that sounds great if you say, hey, love your enemies. That's really loving. Wow, let's put a flower in their gun. But let's take that gun now, and who are we going to aim it at? Well, they're aiming it at who? They're aiming it at their families. So Jesus is telling people, he's telling people not to have families. There's all kinds of scripture we're going to give you later where he's telling people that they should be celibate, that they shouldn't get married because the end's coming already, and don't worry yourself about worldly things, and don't have money, and just follow him around. Okay? So people that say they focus on the family for Jesus and they're rich for Jesus, that's completely against the teachings of Jesus. And Jesus said that if you don't follow his teachings and his commandments, that you don't love him. Okay? So there's a lot. The hypocrisy is not in anything that the Bible contradicts itself. These are two different beings, and one is directly opposed to the other because it's a mental exercise. It's a mental exercise of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, where you have Jesus telling you, you have Jehovah telling you with the fifth commandment to honor your mother and your father so you can live long and prosper in the land and have many days on the land. And then you have Jesus telling you to hate your mother and father and telling people to hate their families. And, you wonder why, Christians have a hard time. Well, that's why. They're saying one thing, they're being taught by movies and TV shows and preachers that Jesus said all these things he didn't say. Because he also said, I didn't come to bring peace. I came to make war. Okay, and we'll get into that in our next installment. So thanks for joining us again next time.